Hey y'all, I'm back. I'm back to talk more about Real Housewives, okay? We have to get into a few things. Now, if you're new here, hey, make sure you guys are coming into the video, you're liking, you're commenting, subscribing, and also sharing. Because sharing is indeed caring. Sharing the video, okay? Now, I do want us to touch on a few things. Of course, Shamea went over to the Ricky Smiley morning show where she talked about her friendship with Porsha. So, y'all know we have to tap into that. We also got to talk about Angela, and she touches on the reunion a bit, and then she also talks about this side baby. We gotta touch on Miss Mia Thornton just a little bit over there with Real Housewives of Potomac. So we'll see what she got going on and stuff, because it seems like she's not liking the fact that she's being labeled a liar. Okay. But we'll get into it. All right. In addition to that, there is this ex crew member of Real Housewives for Bravo, right? His name is Patrick McDonald. Now, he's done a long video, a very lengthy video a while back where he pretty much drug that as an exposed everything, okay, where you working to sun up to sundown because content is king and you got to make sure that you get all your shit in. They don't really give a damn about your well-being. When I tell you he's been over there calling the people out and exposing and things, he's still on their neck top, chewing on their neck bone. He I believe he does OnlyFans, or he specializes in that area, if you know what I mean. And he's making a lot of money because he talked about how they kind of like looked down at him at one point when he was engaging in certain type of activity, okay, and to get his coins, right? So now that he's really doing very well for himself, he really don't give a damn about you else now he really finna sit up here and call it out and talk his SHI. And y'all know we got to check out that just a little bit, because first of all, it's Bravo making $300 million off of Real Housewives last year, and he's saying that things hasn't really changed for the crew members, which is absolutely crazy for me, especially as this economy gets worse and worse, in my personal opinion. Okay, so we do have to just listen to a little bit of what he has to say over here with Bethany Frankel. So we'll check that out. But before we get into what Patrick has to say and everything, first things first, I want us to go ahead and we could really just tap into Miss Mia Thornton. All right, so let us go ahead and get into Miss Mia Thornton first. Let's see what she's talking about over here with Carlos and the people.
The season and everything that went down in the kitchen and everything, and how the narrative of what was being followed in the story that you know everybody wanted to see, that wasn't the story that I wanted the world to see. I wanted the world to see my reality, and it wasn't real. It was a moment where Gordon decides to flip the script on everybody, and then we have to follow the flip of the script, right? And I said, no, just be normal, be real. And I think a lot of times people also don't understand is that would I have ever allowed for Gordon or Ink to be in the same room on cameras if they weren't getting along? They have been getting along for almost a year. So I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I will agree with you guys to allow my soon to be ex-husband and the love of my life to be in the same room because they get along, and we have traveled together, we've celebrated holidays together. Filming the season and everything that went down there hasn't been any animosity. I think that's a beautiful thing for the world to see.
We
I
didn't see
really
none of
do.
that. We didn't
What's
get to
that?
see none. Well, we didn't get
You
to
saw
see
none
none
of
of
it,
that. So if
right?
you're saying your intention for what you brought to the show last season was completely different than what we saw on camera as viewers, I can understand your decision, because what you're
Yeah.
describing to us right now is the polar opposite of what we experienced watching your story play out on camera. That's the
Yeah.
total opposite.
Yeah. And so for me as a mother and as a wife, I've been a wife for 12 years. Could you imagine being scrutinized for something that you've done so well in? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? For a platform to say, no, that's not interesting, but this is. Let's play on this man's mental health since he wants to flip the script and he want to be mad. Okay, so that's it. And I'm like, but that's not my reality. That's not how I live my life. That's not how I parent my children. So while you guys think it's amazing to have ratings, what about my real life? There hasn't been any animosity.
Mia, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate you, wanting to try and tell your truth and all of that, but you do know that you also want to be a part of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So do you think that they're going to tell your real life over there? Do you think that they're going to give your real life over there? Right? I guess they might if you decide to not have Gordon be a part of the show and just have old boy Ink film with you. Maybe Love and Hip Hop will be good too. But do you really think they're gonna get your real life? I don't think that they are. And you're a person that want to go over there to be on. And you know, you're the one that feels like you were done wrong by production in some fashion, but you want to go on to be on Real Housewives of Atlanta to tell your story. First of all, I also feel like although you may think that, oh, I think that's good, people need to see that, you know, they need to see everybody getting along. I still feel like it was a scheme that all y'all came up with. I think you're trying to put things off on Gordon like Gordon was wrong. And the fact that you said he flipped the script makes me believe that there was a script to follow. Mhm. You had a script that you wanted to be followed, and Gordon was like, I'm not going along with that. Yeah, I may get along with y'all outside of the cameras. That's my private life. I can do what I want, but I'm not finna sit up here and help you out on this television show. Okay, because it's further embarrassing me, whatever the case is. All right, he didn't want to go along. That's what it was, but you had a script for him to follow, and now you're trying to put it all off on him like this was all his fault and you did not play an active role in it. Okay, I don't know who brought up the paternity of the child, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't have even entertained it. You shouldn't have even allowed Ink to come on no damn platform and talk about how he think that your child is his when you swear up and down that you knew who the child father was. All right, so I just feel like as much as you want to blame Gordon, Gordon may be definitely at fault for some things, but I also feel like you have to take on a bit of accountability, you know, yourself for the role that you may have played in how we viewed you, because it wasn't just the situation with Gordon that made us feel like Mia might be a liar, or the things that Mia's saying isn't necessarily adding up. Like, ma'am, you were so confident about how you got with him and you were this age or whatever the case was. And I took him from his wife and we met in a strip club, this and that. But then you turned around and said that the man groomed you, and you made it seem like you were a much younger a teenager than where you were when y'all met. Like, it was so confused when I thought that you were married before Gordon, or at least with your first son's dad around the time. So I was just like, you just leave a lot of confusion. And whenever there is a lot of speculation left, once you give us a story and it's a lot of room for us to interpret what we want, girl, is likely going to result in the fact that you're a liar. So you're putting a lot of emphasis on the situation with you and Gordon. And granted, I did not see this full clip, the entire interview as a whole, to really know what all Miss Mia is saying, but right here it appears that she's talking about solely the dynamic between her, Gordon, Ink, as well as Real Housewives of Potomac. And for me, I'm just so like, girl, it wasn't just that made people feel like you were a liar. They were calling you a liar much earlier on, right? I think it was some issues or something about the age or something. Like, since you came on the show, it has been speculations. You were trying to say that you were a boss, you were this, you were that. You made it seem like you were in charge of the company of Joint Chiropractic as a whole. Like, it was a lot of things that you did that was questionable, and we got the result that we got. Okay, when it comes to how we view you on whether you tell the truth or you don't. Now, I will say this: you're not the only one that tells lies. All right, it's a part of the nature of reality TV. Okay, people like to come on the show and they like to appear to be bigger than what they are. That seems to be a common theme. In addition, people will also tell lies to avoid the heat that they're going to get from the general public. You know, and I think the best housewives are the ones that are just owning their stuff, being completely authentic, and you know, showing up as such. All right. But I mean, you just had some little things, okay? And then when it got to the paternity of the child, I just feel like people were just disgusted at that point. Okay, because it shouldn't have even been entertained. Mm, right. So it was a lot of stuff. Then what else did she do on last season when she was talking about um you were stressed out about your kids because Gordon took your kids from one place to the next. But you over here talking about when you fly into town, you gonna fly down to Atlanta just so you can get you some zik or whatever the case is with Ink. But then when you're fronted about it, you want to say, oh, my oldest son lives in Atlanta. You had no intentions on going to see that baby until you talk to Ink. But I got girl, so I mean, it's other things that you've done, Mia. And you might be a dope person. Don't get it twisted. She might be cool as fuck. She might be great to hang around, all of that. All right. A lot of us judge you based on what we see on the show and some of the antics that take place over on social media. And I think all of that is what contributed to people labeling you as such, and it's not just that one particular situation with you and Gordon. Okay, so y'all leave y'all thoughts on that. But Mia did go on, and she had more to say, and I want us to get into some of the tweets that she put out. All right. So what she says is, I'm holding myself accountable, not blaming production. Actually, let's start at the bottom. Okay. I'm wanting to believe this is the order. So it says, and one last thought, leave. Okay. We'll start at the top. All right. So she says, I'm holding myself accountable, not blaming production or anyone else. What aired was a false reality shaped by someone who was hurting and chose to hurt me in return. One who admitted it was done intentionally. It's all so clear. However, healing starts with honesty with myself first. Okay. All right, Mia. So then she says, being called a liar by people who don't know the full truth is painful, but I've learned not to internalize someone else's misunderstanding of projection. I know my truth. I stand on it. Time reveals everything. Then she goes on to say, and one last thought, leaving isn't always a loss. Sometimes it's the beginning of your greatest blessing. I've learned that when I walk away from what no longer serves me, God makes room for what truly honors me. There is power in release and even more in obedience. Okay. So I feel like this might be the smartest and best, well-written me about than ever wrote. Okay. In all honesty. Because I don't feel like she's wrong in that. Okay. Sometimes you do got to lose to win. All right. So technically it's not really a loss for real, for real. I also feel her on the being called a liar thing, because even though that is our, perception of her and how we may view her based on the show and stuff, but we don't know her for real. And it is true that we only get to see small glimpses of what's happening in these people's lives as they create a story around it. So I understand her feeling like that's painful, because it may be certain blanks that she would want to fill in and just can't. All right. And then when we get to the reunion, I feel like Andy doesn't always ask the right questions anyway. People are cut off. Editing is trash. It just, it be a lot. It be a lot. But I'm glad that she's also taking accountability ultimately, and she's willing to start with honesty with herself. Okay. Be real with yourself, then come be real with us. Okay. But either way, Mia, good luck. Good luck to Mia and everything that she's trying to work on and embark on. Okay. I wonder if they are going to entertain her just a little bit. I wonder if they are going to humor her just a piece by having her come and join Real Housewives of Atlanta. I wonder. I don't know. They may not like what she said about production. Who knows? Okay. Because you speak on the production in a not so great way. They probably going to give you that Kenya Moore effect. Okay. Where they start working on icing you the hell out. Hello. But that's what Miss Mia got going on. You guys leave your thoughts and comments down below, and just let me know how you feeling and what you thinking about the overall situation with Mia, Ink, Gordon, her storylines on Potomac, her wanting to come out and acknowledge any, untruthfulness or whatever the case is. Leave your thoughts on Mia. All right. In the meantime, we about to go ahead and slide over, and we are going to move on. All right. What I want us to get into is actually going to be let's see here. I want us to get into coming back. Yeah. I'm not gonna get into that. Real quick, let me say this. Cynthia went over to Nene's podcast, or to her show, sat down with Nene. But I listened to it, but I wasn't that like it was okay. It was an okay interview. It wasn't a bad interview. Not that things have to always be spicy. People have to say salacious things. It wasn't a bad interview. Okay. But one thing I did take away from that interview was that Nene definitely misses the money over there on Real Housewives of Atlanta. And in a wonderful world, honey, we will be able to see her back. But we know that is never gonna happen. Not only because of what happened between, NBC Universal, Nene, the whole Andy Cohen situation. Not only because of that, but because I do feel like money is a bit tight. So they would like for us to believe, because according to Patrick, they done made hundreds of millions of dollars over there, right? And although a network is bringing in that much, it does not mean that they're still not trying to make some cuts, okay, to continue to survive in some capacity, right? So I do believe that they would have to pay a cute coin to get Nene back. I think on a show where there's a Nene and there's a Kenya, Nene would be making more than a Kenya. I'm willing to believe Kandi would still be making more than both of them, high key. But I would think that Nene would be making more than a Kenya. And even if she was willing to take a Kenya pay, I feel like they released, in my personal opinion, they released Kenya because they also ain't trying to pay that. Okay? They was in the beginning, I feel. They was willing to pay that. And then quickly decided to pivot. Like, okay, we ain't got to do this no more. Let's go ahead and get her up out the door. No, thank you. So I don't see her coming back for more so, I personally, in my opinion, financial reasons than anything when it comes to Housewives. But then y'all keep renewing these shows that we don't give a damn about. And then you're also bringing other shows to the network. Like they're bringing Real Housewives of Rhode Island. And I'm going to be tuned in, and I hope that Rhode Island is giving us a bit of what Salt Lake City is giving us, okay? I hope that is entertaining. I wonder what happened to Real Housewives of New Orleans. Are we just not going to do that? What happened with that? Y'all green light and all this other stuff. But yeah, I don't know what Bravo got going on over there, but Nene won't be back, okay? Not no time soon, okay? But that's that. But in the meantime, what I wanted us to get into was Miss Angela Oakley. All right, she does sit down with, I think it's called the Vile Files or something like that. I'm gonna say the V Files because I really don't want to mess up their name, but she sits down with them and she does talk about this Wendy Williams situation, and then she, talks about the baby, the side baby stuff as well. So let us check this out. Then we'll get into more of what Miss Oakley had to say. So yeah.
Wendy Williams story.
Yeah.
I think the story is the reason I was cast because I feel like it just gives so much drama. But that's not the case. Charles did not have a side baby. We can clear that. And Wendy Williams and I had a conversation that just went left. I gave her some unsolicited advice.
Are you able to share what that advice was?
I told her, maybe she should stay with her husband. And I know he had a baby on her, but I just thought I was the biggest Wendy fan. And I felt like now's my chance. I saw her in a private event and I just went up to her. If Charles knew I did this ahead of time, he would have just kicked me out the party. Because me and my big mouth. So I was like, now's my time. I snuck over to her and I was just like, Wendy, it's just the baby. And she went off. That's why I'm like, the fans are defending Wendy. Wendy went off for me herself. So it wasn't like Wendy was just sitting there. She was like, get the F away from me. And she was just like, has that ever happened to you? Oh, Wendy went off. I have not lived this day down in my life. Like, this is one of my worst moments because now I'm thinking back. I'm like, that was Wendy Williams. Like, who the heck do you think you are to give her unsolicited advice?
What was Charles' reaction when you told him you did that?
Well, he didn't know. He only got the reaction of me just being oh my God, Wendy just cussed me out. And he was just
Angela, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for sharing that story. Second of all, we all have a story in our life about just like, I don't know, just kind of being out of body and doing something where we were like, what the f was that? But walking up to Wendy Williams and saying, it's just a baby was a crazy thing to say.
And it grew legs. And I'm sitting at home eating my bonbons and she's on her show. Like, I saw Charles and I'm just flabbergasted because here I am just a regular civilian and my name is splashed on her show. And you know what? She did what I would have done too. Like, if you're bold enough to say this to me, I'm going to put some juice on it. I'm going to put some sauce on it. I'm going to make it juicy because you done lost your mind. And that's what Wendy did. So she gave me what I deserved. She added that I said he had a baby on me. It was not Charles Oakley. No, it was my oldest daughter's father, who,
Is that kind of why whenever Britt brought it up at Cynthia's party that you were kind of like, what? Like, you kind of didn't really have this like, oh my God.
I was like, you better have receipts.
Yeah.
Where are your receipts? Because we're not going to bring rumors to the table because there's enough to go around for everybody.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you better have receipts. And of course, the only receipt they're going to pull up is the Wendy Williams video.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right, y'all. So that is what Miss Angela had to say. She's still saying that Charles did not have a baby on her. So now I'm wondering, even though the little boy looks super young, I'm wondering if he could have just had that baby right before they met potentially. Or maybe before they, because they've been married for 10 years. So I don't know, girl. Hurry up and let us know what the hell going on, okay? Period. Now, in the meantime, in between time, she does talk about the reunion, and she pretty much talks about how she feel like the entire cast is going to be on hype. And I'm willing to believe it. I don't know if she and Drew are gonna have any friction, but she and Porsha has gotten into it. She and Shamea has gotten into it. She and Britt obviously has gotten into it. So that's Porsha, Shamea, Britt. She gonna clearly have an issue with Kelly at some point because I already knew Kelly was talking SHI about her. Who else we have? Drew and Cynthia. Maybe she'll get into it with Phaedra as well. Okay, because it seems to me that Phaedra is likely going to come into the show and she's going to beef with whoever Portia's beefing with. She's going to take up all of Portia's beef, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Porsha contributes to the wedge between Shamea and Porsha, because Phaedra may show up as the person that Porsha may have wanted Shamea to show up as. All right, and Shamea has done that enough, so let Phaedra do it if she wants to do it. Okay, and then at some point y'all gonna be clashing too. Y'all gonna be right back where y'all was that season when them lies was out there about Kandi. So, it is what it is. I don't think she's gonna get into it with Cynthia and with Drew. So the whole cast just might be coming for her, and the fact that now she's rising to be the fan favorite at this particular time. Oh, they definitely gonna be on her for sure. For sure. But I want us to hop over here to Mr. Housewives and check out what Miss Angela has to say. So let's get into this.
Season, it's going to be your first reunion as well, and just like you said, like there's filming the season and watching it, but the reunion is a whole nother beast. Going into it, who in your cast do you want to address the most, or get to the bottom of anything? And is there also someone in your cast that you're worried that might be coming for you?
I think all of them are going to come for me. I don't feel like I have any allies. I hope that I'm wrong, with the exception of Drew. I hope that I'm wrong. I don't see any inroads to saying, hey, Angela may have been right. Like, I don't see any inroads to support. And so I don't know if that's going to show up. However, I only have my intentions on clearing up some things that happen at the finale. And that happens with Phaedra when she comes. So they can come for me. I'll just be blocking and blah, 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 blah.
Well, Angela, it's not just your first season. It's going to be your first reunion as
well. Because you and Porsha ended on a good note at Cynthia's party. So something else happens in the second half of the season.
I feel like she tagged in help.
Okay.
That's just what it is.
Do you feel like it's a little bit of like rookie hazing?
Well, it's more than one rookie. You know what I mean? Like, why do I need all of the hazing? It's more than one rookie. I thought I was walking into a group of, I don't know, I guess I thought we was going to have tea and go shopping and talk about our children, talk about our marriages and our businesses. But no. So you see me slow walking and learning at the same time, like, oh, this is what we're doing. So it took me a while to catch up. But once I found out what we were doing, I was ready.
Okay.
Because you and Porsha.
So it's safe to say that despite it not being what you expected and it being a little tougher, no regrets. And if they'll ask you, you'll come back for season 2?
We have 7 more episodes to go.
7, wow.
Let's see what happens in these episodes.
7 episodes to go, and I'm sure they're going to do a 3-part reunion. Has Housewives of Atlanta ever had a 4-part reunion? I doubt it. I'm trying to see who has. I feel like Potomac may have had a 4-part reunion at some point. But they don't need a 4-part. They don't. I mean, unless the 4th part is going to be Kenya Moore coming in. Okay? But yeah, I don't see that. Maybe I think 3 may be good. Y'all let me know. 2-part reunion or a 3-part reunion?
Are Kelly and Britt gonna beef at all? Because we see a little something in the trailer.
Their beef was so good. It was so funny. I was just eating popcorn like, I love it. Give me more.
Whose side were you on?
And I'm not just, it was just good to me. I mean, enough of me. Let's talk about Kelly and Britt. So it surprised me, but I will say it's very entertaining.
Were you on a side, Britt or Kelly's?
Of course, I was on a side.
Okay.
Kelly, you can go wrong. We love you.
So it's safe to say that despite it not being.
All right, y'all. So that's what she has to say. The people gonna be on her head come to reunion. I have no doubt about it, and that is what I'm looking forward to as well. The Kelly and the Brit fallout of it all. So I want to see, how did this happen? How did we get here? And also, being that we only have about 7 episodes left, I think that it's going to be happening very rapidly. It's definitely going to be happening very soon, along with the fallout of Porsha and Miss Shamea. But they haven't been promoting that sit down between the two when Shamea says, "Am I boring you?" as they did earlier when the show was getting ready to premiere. So I'm hoping that we still get a chance to see that sit down between the two ladies. Can I also say this too? A lot of the fans are not crazy about Porsha this season, as she has made her grand return, and it's not giving grand in my personal. And the way that social media has been tearing into Porsha, I think, honey, that now that you are the quote unquote forerunner or whatever, the front person, all right, or the returning vet in a full cast, in a full position like that, aside from Phaedra, I think at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is you're going to be the enemy. I think you are about to be who people saw Miss Kenya Moore as. So I think that's what your edits will be looking like moving forward. And Phaedra's just going to be who Phaedra is and has been for the longest. But you finna slide into that role and let some people tell it. Porsha has always been the villain that a lot of us thought that Kenya was. Okay, so that's gonna be interesting to see. But either way, good luck. All right, good luck to her. But listen, I also want us to talk about Shamea. Okay, Shamea has had some things to say. The first thing I want us to get into is when she talks about how Real Housewives of Atlanta has changed her life. But before we do that, and then we'll also get into the when she talks about the dynamic with her and Porsha, that friendship. But first, let us go ahead and get into what she has to say about the show and how it changed her life.
With this Real Housewives, you're on reality TV now. I love that you're.
Oh, thank you.
So, how are you navigating your private life with now being even more in the public eye right now? How do you find that balance?
So I've always kind of lived my life out front in a sense. But yeah, you're right. Housewives is a huge platform.
Huge.
And it is different because I loved the quietness of my wealth. I enjoyed just being the broke best friend or the plus one, whereas my close friends and family knew my lifestyle. They would expect me to pay the check. But now it's like every damn body expect me to pay the check. So it's like, girl. And I'm like, actually, I kind of like getting the free stuff, like I like free stuff. And I just enjoyed, it's different now because people now, I'm met with, not you in that $9 million house, girl, you rich. And I'm like, I don't want to leave with that. Like that's not who I am in a sense. I'm very much chill.
But that's why I'm happy that you're on the show, because
so it makes me uncomfortable. There's not much to make me feel uncomfortable, but it's not like somebody keep complimenting you. You're like, oh, thank you so much. Like, no, you really are really beautiful. And you're like, oh. And then after you start running out of stuff to say, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it's like, thank you. Okay, I can't take it.
So with this Real Housewives, you're on reality TV.
So I definitely understand Shamea and how she's feeling in that moment, and then also, I'm sure it comes with also having to identify who's being genuine, right? Who is really rocking with you because it's Shamea, they like your personality, or who's rocking with you to get closer to your riches, you know what I'm saying? Or to benefit off of the fact that they're a friend of Shamea, or to even get closer to your husband. Hello? So those are things that I'm sure runs through her mind as well, now that she's being on this television show, getting more attention, even though we've seen her before, but now it's a whole lot different. Okay. Now people may be more invested in you as a actual housewife versus a friend of the show. And I can understand, how she may feel that way. But let us slide over, child, because I want us to tap into, I want us to tap into what she had to say about Porsha. Now, y'all know they have been friends for a very long time. From my understanding, their parents used to be best friends, their moms. And that's how they became best friends. And they've been best friends for a while, I think since like junior high school, maybe early elementary, but I'll say junior high on up. very close. And it's really sad that they've gotten to this place in their friendship where it's a breakdown. It's a breakdown, okay? And honestly, y'all, like I said before, it was happening before she got on this damn show. Because when she sat down with Kandi, I think in January, or was it December, when she sat out with Kandi and they had the chat about her coming to Housewives and everything, when she broke down the whole story about how she let Porsha know that she was going to be on the show, I think she like sent her a text or something. Like she gave her a heads up, and a lot of things were done via text. And I'm like, when that's your best friend and you guys are in a great relationship, you're able to pick up the phone and call. So they were already having some little friction, some issues. Of course, Porsha was going through her divorce and stuff, but it seemed like it was happening even before that. But we'll get into what Shamea has to say about the dynamic of that friendship. So let us hop over here with the Ricky Smiley Morning Show and check that out.
Season 16 of Real Housewives of Atlanta, there were a lot of changes this season. If you could undo one change, what would it be?
I mean, it would be just the awkward space that my friendship is in with Porsha.
Yeah.
I would undo that. That would that's my real friend. You know what I mean? And reality is real, right? Reality, you can't spell reality without spelling real. So the place that we're in right now it's hurtful. You know what I mean? It would be bad to say.
Why did y'all let it get to this point though? How do you let it get to this point when you're such good friends?
In relationships, there's you and then there's them, right? And then there's like your perspective and mine. Right. I haven't been able to even have a conversation to understand how it got to this point. Everything that I've done has been centered in love and has led with love. And I've never been one to allow anybody to talk down on my friendship or like my people. And that's just my thing. Now, what's happening on the other side, I have no idea. But there's no way that Brett could come to me and say, Porsha said this or Porsha did this. I'm going to look at you like, girl, please. Stop.
So did the producers tell you to not talk to her a lot, or did
no? I've reached out. I've done my part. I feel
okay,
and the fact that she's allowing and listening to other people is ludicrous to me. People that she just met, people that she does not know. Well, they're in her ear or have said some things, I guess, about our friendship. First of all, our friendship should never have been up for discussion, to me.
Yeah.
And if it was something that was that bad, it should have been addressed to me.
Did y'all talk before the show and say, look, did she say, well, you've been on the show before, so you know how sometimes how setups can be and how trifling the plot can get. So did y'all have conversations before, like, look, no matter what they try to do, this ain't going to be a problem?
Yeah, and my thing is, what's understood shouldn't be, you don't have to explain. Like, I'm riding for you. I think history has proven I ride for you over and over again, almost to the point where people are like, what's wrong with you? What she got on you? Were you still riding some boy? What's happening with you? So at this point, I'm stepping back and I'm going to need you to show me some of that. Reciprocity. I need you to ride for me like I've been riding for you. And as all things on reality TV, it'll all play out and we will all see, and we can either be accountable for it or we can keep it moving.
Season 16 of Real Housewives of Atlanta.
I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. You're going to have to keep it moving. Okay, you're gonna have to keep it moving. When they first started doing the show and conversations were happening before the show really got started, when the show got started, Shamea was very delicate with how she spoke on the dynamics of she and Porsha's friendship. But as the show is going on, time is progressing. Now I feel like this is the first time I'm really hearing Shamea being vocal. Like, you're gonna have to give me some of that. Okay, I want some of that. I want some of what I've been giving to you all of these years. I've been loyal to you. Okay, so now I feel like it's because Porsha been giving her dust a bit. Shamea put a nice post up about Pilar for her birthday. Porsha didn't even acknowledge it. I've been noticing that the cast will have events, whether it's down at the State Farm Arena, whether, for the basketball games, whether it's a premiere for Shadow Force or whatever. Porsha ain't been there with the cast, okay? There's been a few things with the cast that Porsha has been absent from. I don't know why or what the reason. But like she's definitely, it really seems like she's giving Shamea her ass to kiss a bit. And I just feel like I just feel like you just gotta watch Friends like that. Period. When you're starting to rise to the occasion and you're not, where people left you or whatever the case is, they're gonna start acting funny when you start getting some attention. Okay, you start being praised and all of this other shit. Okay, the reason that, in my opinion, Porsha is so comfortable with other people talking to her about you is because that's how she feels about you too. That's why, you're like, oh, she's letting other people that she's just met be in her ear about our friendship, and that may be why her and Britt gonna fall out. But meaning Britt and Shamea, but she also does mention something about, I think, Shamea's parenting or her child or something. But I feel like, when people do that, that's because they need to find a common enemy in somebody that, feels how feels the same way about you as they're feeling. Even if it's just something so small that they feel like they could talk to that person about you. Like, that's how she was already feeling, for her to be able to just accept what somebody else is saying about you. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, Shamea, you might have to take a L on this, and y'all might need to take a break and come back at a later time if that is even possible. But right now, y'all need that break, love. Y'all need that break. Okay? This ain't it. And you're gonna have to be okay with that. I don't see you ever getting in return what you've given to her. And even should you get it in return, I feel like a lot of us viewers may not even think that it's genuine at that point. Right? So you just gonna have to, take that L. I understand that it hurts, because friendship breakups be hurting, baby. Them friendship breakups be hurting. Okay? And probably, you just share a lot with a person, that was your folks you would go to for a lot. Y'all would hang out, this and that. Friendship breakups be hurting. So I can imagine how Shamea is feeling, and it also being on public display, which is also making it difficult for them to come back together, because so many people got so much to say about it. Because not only do you got your cast members having to chime in, and then you got her mama trying to chime in, right? You also got the audience that's chiming in, such as myself, telling you which direction you should go. Now, if you want to fight for your friendship, fight for it. If Porsha wants that, hopefully you guys can have that, right? But I do think that you need to take this break for what it is. And it don't mean like, I think you continue to take the high road. You don't have to SHI on her. You don't got to say nothing negative. You can continue to say the positive things or whatever the case is, and move forward. But y'all gonna have to take a break. And it sucks because now you're both a part of this show. I know you enjoy being on this platform because it does wonders for people. So I don't see you leaving the show. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very uncomfortable, but that's just where y'all at right now. You're gonna have to sit in that. Let me see what some of the fans are saying. She was never your friend, sis. Kandi tried to warn you. Damn. Somebody says Porsha is jealous because Shamea is rich. Woo. Shamea is rich and the fans are loving it. Well, I don't know if she's jealous because, she's rich and the fans are loving it, but I'm sure that she may be a bit sour with the fact that she's a losing Simon and Shamea still got her situation intact. Right? It could be that, but don't be mad at them, because then you say on Watch What Happens Live that Shamea and her husband tried to tell you about Simon. Which is also interesting, considering the fact that when you got with Simon, you had added Shamea and said best matchmaker ever, and she was all in support of you being with that lady husband. Okay. Oh, Shamea, girl, you been out here holding somebody down, and it ain't take no time for her to put you down either. Somebody says Shamea isn't innocent either. Somebody says, I just don't like how she was all good with Porsha until she got a peach, and now it's giving, I don't need your friendship anymore. Hopefully they'll work it out. Well, first of all, it's not no damn. Okay, first of all, it's giving you a Porsha stand. Okay, that's one. All right, and that's fine, but just make sure you got a little bit extra to go with what you're saying. Okay, because she's not putting Porsha down. Porsha put her down. Okay, that's what it's giving. In addition to that, a lot of people, I do understand, as I stated, did not watch the sit down that Shamea did with Kandi. If you watch that sit down on Kandi's channel, speak on it, you would learn and hear that they were already having issues. Okay, just listen to the cues of what Shamea is saying. Oh, I text her. Oh, this or that. Yada. They were already having issues. So this was before she even got a damn peach. But I'm sure getting the peach amplified it, because it could have been in that moment once Porsha signed her deal with Bravo to return, and then she filed for the divorce, which I thoroughly believe that she knew she was going to divorce that man and turned around and signed that deal to secure her bag and then filed for the divorce. She was trying to make sure she had a bag first, and I get it. I feel like once she filed for that divorce and realized her storyline was shifting, and then for them to hire Shamea on, I think she already knew what it was going to be, in my opinion. I think that once she knew Shamea was going to come on, people was going to see this big grand house. She gets to film in her house. I can't even film in my house. She's in a happy, loving marriage. She's already had another daughter, and they working on another. Meanwhile, the fairy tale that I thought I was going to get, okay, to be on the same level as my friend or whatever, it's blowing up in my face. So she's feeling a way about herself. And it's giving she's used to being the have and Shamea being the have not, in my personal. Okay, and now the roles were have reversed. Okay, it's giving child those that were last will soon be first, honey. So be careful. Sometimes everybody ain't gonna be able to take the switch up. Okay, that some may say is an elevation. Everybody not gonna be able to take that. But anywho, all right, somebody says Porsha's not jealous of Shamea. Porsha is hurting, and she's hurting the person closest to her. It's not good that it's playing out on TV, and that could be true. All right, and sometimes with hurt, will come discomfort. All right, it will come that discomfort that some would say is jealousy, child. So it can't be a little piece. All right, but she damn sure a little uneasy about the fact that she knew Shamea was gonna be celebrated more than she was. But anywho, child, that's what they got going on. And speaking of Porsha and everything, I do want us to hop into what this producer had to say about seemed like he's gonna be touching on Porsha. He says some solutions are actually quite simple. Reality TV shows need ethics compliance officers present on set to ensure the safety and well-being of cast and crew members. All right, they're saying former Bravo and Real Housewives of Atlanta producer recounts Porsha Williams' family brawl on set. So let me see what you talking about with this brawl that happened.
To us, it was Colombia, Cartagena, where we almost all like died in a boating the boat incident, where there were only 2 life vests. I mean, there are a lot of things like that are a different version of liability. There's mental health, there's substance use, then there's like danger liability. Like, have you experienced a bit of that too, where you're like, what the hell, this is not safe on trips?
Absolutely. My very first international catch trip. The first international catch trip I took was for Real Housewives of Atlanta spinoff called Porsha's Family Matters. Okay. I think that a lot of these incidents that happen could be corrected by having standards and practices person present on set, because it doesn't exist.
Like a COVID compliance person that was there making sure that things were
Exactly. There should be someone put there in place by the network or maybe a third party or something.
No, a reality compliance you know what I mean? Person. Yes, it's like a COVID compliance person. I said this.
Exactly. Hey, cameraman, when was the last time you got a bathroom break? But yeah, we took the cast to Mexico for this healing retreat. You know how we love a healing retreat on these housewife shows, which are everything but. We're at a cast dinner where a brawl broke out between her entire family. I found myself having to pry a metal pole out of Porsha's hand that she was trying to use to bash another cast member's face in with, who happened to be the father of her child. Yes. During that brawl.
Bitch, I'm pausing. Not you had a metal pole in your hand so that you could bash in the face of your baby daddy. Talk about something. He touched my family. I will never forget that. Did he touch your family? Because it seemed like your family touched his mama. That's crazy. And then now you over here on the show asking and begging this man to show some type of loyalty to you when I don't feel like that loyalty was given back to him. And then I do feel like she constantly gaslights his ass. But you know, I think that Dennis often lets a lot of shit roll off his back. Like, I feel like he don't be taking stuff a whole lot serious at times, where he just like, it is what it is. It's cool. And of course, that's his baby mom. All right. He may not have all the respect for her because clearly he didn't do right by her in the relationship, but he has some respect for her being the baby mom. And I think that he does care about her well-being and stuff. But girl, the way that you be gaslighting this man be crazy. When he sat up there and told the story about how Simon saw him in the airport in January. Okay. What year was that? Was that 2021 when he saw her in the airport asking about Porsha? He like, why are he asking about Porsha? And that's when he put everything together and realized that y'all have been messing with each other, and people start coming out with photos and stuff, clocking the locations and this and that, when he would be here and you would be there and all this and stuff. And yeah, the people had been identified that y'all had been messing with each other, which is crazy. And he over there putting a damn post up talking about some to my dearest Fallon, this and that, happy anniversary, whoop, 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 all of this stuff. And then want to come out, what, a month or so later. Well, he filed for a divorce, which was crazy. I think that same month from Fallon, and then took it back. And then I think he filed it again in February. Didn't want to come out talking about some she been cheating when you been out here doing what the hell you been doing. Okay? And with the cast member. Child, ain't that so damn mess? That's crazy there. But anywho, when she was sitting there and he was telling what he knew, she was like, no, because remember, it was this and that. And he was looking like, okay, Porsha, I'm gonna let you have it. Child, and you over here, this the same man that you want to show so much loyalty, but you trying to bash his damn face in. Whew. Okay, well, let's keep going. That's crazy there, girl. That's violent behavior. But let me tell y'all something. Bravo loved him some Porsha. They can't get enough of her because she got a big butt, cute smile, pretty face, honey. They're going to hold on tight to her. Well, keep holding.
I mean, it went on for quite some time. There were, not only was she swinging this metal pole around, which could have hit anyone at any time.
Wow.
And this was all on the show. You see me grab this pole, wrestle it out of her hand, and take it away.
They aired the crew.
They aired a very watered down version of it. It would go to black. It would occasionally go to black, so they didn't have to show it. You know?
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Mm-hmm.
Oh. 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 Oh, plates. Oh. 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 Oh,
Yeah.
Gaga.
I
Gaga.
remember that. Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Gaga. Cute Gaga. Look at Gaga.
And she
Cute.
damn sure could
Yo,
hit somebody
go,
in the head,
no.
child. I can't.
Listen to
Y'all over
Gaga.
there get y'all a fucking family mess.
Oh, Porsha. What the? Oh, shit. Crew members are getting snapped. Oh, Gaga.
I mean, not only is she using this metal pole to try to hit people with, swinging it around crew members with no, not a care in the world about anyone,
Ooh.
throwing clay pots, throwing plates that are breaking over cameramen's heads, throwing knives.
Jesus.
There were cameramen that were there at this thing that chimed in on on these videos online. Like, I was there. Yes, that happened.
Wow.
But yeah, and so just complete chaos ensued. We were kicked out of the restaurant that we were shooting in, and the police impounded all of our crew vehicles. So all of the crew vehicles were taken. So the entire crew and cast is left scrambling, scattered about the streets of Mexico, wandering around trying to find our way back to our hotel because we were kicked out of our location because of this crazy fight that's ensued. I mean, it was pure chaos, The next day.
And she brought that much of a risk to production and all. And y'all still, girl, listen. Some other housewives just wouldn't be able to get away with some shit like that. Okay? That's crazy. This woman done had about 3 different bras on y'all network. Kenya shows an image that y'all can't even see or y'all didn't even allow us to see, and she got to go. Child. And girl, let's keep going.
Porsha didn't even talk about it. We had learned later that day, Porsha reached out to her entire family and told them, don't talk about this on the show, because if we don't talk about it, they can't air the fight. So obviously that didn't happen.
Oh, wow.
So they eventually started talking about it. But then a week or so later, we were back in the States, and I was shooting a scene with her.
And I believe it because Porsha was also that person that be in the DM that was in the messages trying to talk about keeping Nene off the show or whatever. So when Nene came back, it's been so hard without you. That's why Kandi called her fake as hell. Okay, because bitch, you was in the messages saying something completely different, and then when Nene come back, you on some different energy. And remember when Nene was supposed to be booking that show over there on Netflix, and Porsha was supposed to do it, and Nene found out. I think she couldn't do it, or Porsha left, or something about not wanting to work with Nene. And Nene called her out about it. Then Porsha came back with a different narrative. I think she came back with a different narrative this year. And then Nene went back and said she's a liar. Child. Listen, but y'all gonna do anything for a big butt, a cute smile, and a pretty face. All right? Because I feel like that's the real reason that a lot of y'all stand Porsha. It's because you feel like, oh, she's gorgeous, she's pretty, she's a piece of funny, if that.
her cousin and her aunt or something. And, you know, in the beats, it's like, we're talking about what happened on the trip, you know? And so like, I'm telling the cast like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should touch base on how we're feeling after everything that happened on the trip. And so they start talking about the stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, that gets back to Porsha, and Porsha calls the production company that I'm trying to like coerce them to talking about this, you know, on camera.
What about the mental health of the crew and how the crew feels about the subject matter, about the Porsha fight, about the Morocco Brandy Caroline incident, about the Shannon Bedore, about the Scary Island? Like, what is the crew's moral dilemma, or are they just machines that are just you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I can speak to the Porsha fight. I mean, they were all extremely upset after that. They were like, this is so fucked up. Like, we can't work like this. We shouldn't be having to do this, you know? And the real kicker for that was like, Porsha didn't even like acknowledge it, you know, until she was like made to. A day went by and Porsha had said nothing to the crew or anything until they were like, you have to say something. She gave this like very, very, very quick little apology that she really clearly wanted to like breeze through.
Like, check the box.
Yeah. So they were very like put off by that. And yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, it's been late night at a trip, going back to do producer cam. Like, all right, we got to go back and get the ladies having fun in their rooms. And like, these ladies are so exhausted. A lot of times, like, they just traveled, 20 something hours to get there too. They haven't gotten a lot of rest. And I've literally had to tell them like, all right, ladies, I need everybody up dancing. Let's take some, let's like, who wants drinks? Let's get some drinks. Let's have some fun. Get the energy up here. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're told to tell them, you know?
Does exhaustion help drama?
They're like tired. They're like all like dead. They're like, okay, then they get up and dance. It's like dance, pony, dance, you know?
Is there any aspect of it where the exhaustion helps the drama, the alcohol helps the drama? Like, that production knows that, like, they're tired, so they're going to do and say stupid shit?
1,000%. I think that the model of these trips to pack so much in to such a short amount of time, I think was designed to push people to their limits. You know what I mean? To push these cast members to their limits. These long days, long events where a lot of alcohol is happening. Yeah.
The residual aspect of that is the trips are designed to push people to their limits. So somebody has to be filming that. So the crew, who's not making the same money, getting the same fame, having the same decisions, power, and relevance, is experiencing the same exhaustion, but with no upside.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what you're saying. Because I'm trying to get to what overall this is for the crew. And that's what I've now, at the end of this interview, come to. You are basically saying that all of this drama that goes on, that is making housewives cry, ruin their lives, the desperation, the circular reference, the crew is experiencing all of it and more because they're lugging equipment and having to capture it and have to stay in shitty hotel rooms, but they get none of the upside.
And can be replaced at a moment's notice without,
So it's all downside while you're watching these other people drive in Rolls Royces and you guys are there to produce. Yeah, with us it was Colombia, Cartagena, where we almost all like died in a boat, the boat incident, where there were only 2 life vests. I mean, there are a lot of things like that are a different version of liability. There's mental health, there's substance use, then there's like danger liability. Like, have you experienced a bit of that too, where you're like, what the hell, this is not safe on trips?
Absolutely. My very first international cast trip. The first international cast trip I took was for Real Housewives of Atlanta spinoff called Porsha's Family Matters. I think,
child, that right there is something. Okay, I wanted to go back and hear him talk about, was it this one where he talked about, I think he says how much Bravo may have made last year?
The report that came out recently that Housewives generated over $300 million for Peacock last year. All while the rate of pay for producers and crew members has gone unchanged for like the past decade. There's been no increase in the rates of each position in so many years, while the network and Peacock is raking in millions and millions and millions of dollars. How about putting some of that money in the cameraman's pockets, who is literally carrying the show on his back?
Right.
Or putting those in the pockets of the producers who are working day and night to bring these stories to life. Maybe compensate them for some of the work they're doing and maybe start treating them better.
Well, here's who has reached out to you, which is interesting because, like I said, I started this by saying it's remarkable that people who are currently on the show would say something to you. So there's a shift. These are the people that commented publicly. Crystal Kong Minkoff, you were a shining light during very challenging experiences for me. Miss seeing you on a daily. Heart.
Love Crystal.
The real Candiace, my darling Gaga, you shine for all of us in a world that is sometimes dark, twisty, and convoluted. You are a light. You are brave. I love you so much. And then she said, reality TV cast and crew need a union. Full stop. Thank you for saying the quiet part out loud. Vanderpump Rules, co-executive producer. Love you and loved working with you.
Child, that's crazy there. But, that's kind of what I expect from a lot of these networks. They make a lot of money at the top and they don't give out a whole lot at the bottom. All right. But child, that was just interesting there. I had to go ahead and just get it tapped into that. Now, it is a little piece old, okay? But we had to get into that just a little bit. All right. But that's all I got for you guys at this time. I want you all to leave your thoughts and comments down below about everything that we talked about today regarding Real Housewives. Of course, I'm Jami. That's me. Make sure you're liking up the video, you're commenting, you're subscribing, and of course, you're sharing the video. You can catch me over on social media at JamiThatsMe. And, I'll catch you guys in the next one, honey. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Tell him I preach to the choir. Stand with my feet to the fire. Give all the glory to God. Stand in the midst of these haters, I'm silent, nobody can stop me. Just gotta check in my notification, them numbers hit like it's a praxis. Cashed out at the ATM, and the ATL, they done made a gym. I've been kicking doors like the ATF, got them trying to clone me like Agent Smith. Game time, I invaded gym, high elevated, I can face the rim. Putting shots up, I got laser focus, about to take it over, I'm Invader Zim. On a trip to Florida like it's A&M. Who that nigga, man, they say I'm him. Spit the truth, never wasting film, I can feel the pool.